Yo, what's going on, guys? Lucas Tristan here, back with another Hive video for that honey. And this is a new video based around the draft, kind of, but it's not a draft recap, it's not power rankings on the draft. It is a guessing game with the draft, because I have two friends who don't know anything about the Hive draft, mostly, so far. So, first off, we got the young boy who is in Hive, Jarrett, also known as Pokemon Jerryberry HD.
I mean, I was in Hive, so there's that.
You're in the server, at least.
I won Weedle. So,
you won Weedle. You won my homeland. And then on the other half, we have the person that's not in the Hive server, which is Ace Trainer Josh.
What's going on, guys? It's me, Pokemon Dribber HD.
Awesome. But yes, so basically, I gave them a mixed up list of the first round of Mons that were chosen, and I gave them the draft order. So now they get to put out or make a list basically of what they think the order was. Jarrett hasn't been paying attention to the drafts at all because he's a dedicated Hive member. But yeah, but not necessarily. You guys know the rules. Just you have a list. One Mon goes to each person in an order, and whoever gets the most right wins, basically. And this is the Weedle edition. We shall move on to the other ones later. Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, so you guys have your list. How about we start off? Do you have anything to say?
So, I guess I have to say that the list sense is the most standard on JPEG Gen 7 first 16 picked Pokemon.
Yes,
For the most
except
part.
for the one glaring obvious Ferrothorn.
I mean, there's a couple. Like, I wouldn't say Victini's a round one like a round one pick most of the time, to be honest.
That's true. And that's also but I'm assuming all these Mons are also like the top tier too, like for the most part. Or I guess at least one A or B.
Yes.
I guess if Victini's like a 1B, I guess you could be like, hey, that's value or something. But
All right.
Yeah.
So how about we start off with this? Top of the list for you guys is Celesteela. Where would you see that?
Top three. If the first three picks are smart, you should pick Celesteela. Just saying. So
yeah.
I would expect it to be there.
Like I personally would want to say like, while that logic of top three is good, I don't think that's where it ended up going. I feel like it went to like maybe like 5 or 6. Honestly, like I feel like
Six would have been my second answer. To be honest.
because like
But
nobody
I
ever
would say
picks
top three.
Steela like first. It always ends up because I feel like a lot of people have like, tried it and then so by now like nobody prioritizes picking it first. So someone always like usually gets it in the later like part of like the first round. But I could see it going in the middle and at least for Hive just because like people want to win here. So
All right. So Josh, we'll go with you since you're on the left of my list. What number did Celesteela go?
I'm going to go with the magic number and say 3.
You say 3. Oh no. Okay. It's going to mess up how my
formatting.
list looks, but it's okay. Okay. What about you, Jert? Are you going with 6?
I like 6. Yeah, I think 6
Okay.
is solid.
All right. Second Pokemon, Garchomp. Where did that go?
I mean,
So, like, okay, actually, Jared can go first on this one.
I mean, yeah, because Garchomp's still a solid mod. Like, I like it a lot. I don't think it's top 5. Like that's it usually sticks around. I want to say this should be like a maybe like back half. I want to honestly like the back 3 is where I'm thinking. So I will even give you my confident. I'm gonna say it went number 15.
15 for Garchomp.
No, I entirely agree with Jared's logic because it's a solid overall Pokemon.
Yeah, of course.
But there's Pokemon that overall are just one more fun to pick and better to pick. So the back end of the first round makes a lot of sense because it's a mon that's more likely than not going round two, as well. So I'm gonna say 13. I'll go
13,
2 in front. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt that somebody really wanted Garchomp.
Okay,
And it just
so
happens to be that late.
Jared, knowing that you know these people more, and I know that before this you brought up something about Ryu. Is there anything you think that because it's Ryu that maybe Josh should stay away from Garchomp 13, or?
I mean, not necessarily. It's just like I've battled him a couple times before, but like to be honest, if I very like I know I faced him in Hive, but that was a long time ago. So that kind of throw away. The last time I faced him, he had a Megalopunny. So
Okay.
That's the only thing that I have, like, and it was ICBA. So I think he also had Miglia. It was a cool team. But what's it called? Like that's the only I almost want to say like he might have taken it at 13, but I'm not. I'm honestly, while we're going, I'm probably still gonna flip flop on whether I think he actually took it.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a round to like change everything as well.
Like no, I'm confident with the other two. Like at least the range. Like I feel like we can guess the range pretty well. Like the specific people, like Arf is the only one I know 100% sure. Like obviously, like that's easy.
All right, number 3, Tapu Coco. Where's that going, boys?
This is a tough
we'll go
one
with Josh
too.
first on this one. We'll go back and forth.
It's tough to judge because it's either gonna go basically top 2, or it'll last till pick 10. So it's a very hard one to judge, in my opinion. But looking at the basis of the mons that were drafted, I would say it was pick number 4. No, I'm just kidding. I would say pick number 5. I would say pick number 5.
Okay, number 5. You know what number or what pick I am or what I chose. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, oh wait, what 4?
I didn't actually look at the document when I said that. I was like thinking of a magic number.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I just put Jolteon on. Oh my god, what was I thinking?
I wish Jolteon was as good as Coco. It's not though.
I forget why I just put Jolteon on. It's something about Jolteon was in my head, but
I mean, I guess they're both the same base speed.
You wish that Coco could be
probably. But what about you, Jared? What about you?
Okay. So here's the thing. Coco, like Josh said, it usually goes pretty early, or like I feel like it's kind of similar with Celesteela, but not as common yet. Is that like people let Celesteela fall usually, and just because like everyone acknowledges it's a really good Pokemon, but it's usually used defensively, so they kind of lean away from defensive Pokemon as a first pick. Like that's just most people.
Yeah.
And so Coco, on the other hand, since it's such a great offensive presence, it usually gets picked immediately, whether it's the best mon in format or not. I feel like I was gonna say I definitely heard a disconnect, but yeah, he's back. But
okay, I know that was me back.
But
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bold here and say that it actually went number 1 because I feel like for people who want to use Coco, like especially in the basis of IPA where we can trade draft spots, everyone tries to trade up to go get Coco. Like that's just everyone does that. And
I know Vano tried to get it, and then Hunter actually traded me up to get Coco.
Exactly. And so like on that basis, just because so many people want to use Coco if they haven't already, and because they haven't like if they haven't already, it's because they just haven't had a pick in the first few. I'm willing to say number 1.
All right. And then so I like those. I like those reasonings. Okay, number 4 on the list, Mega Mawile, which
should be an easy one because
I'm gonna say the number 4 went to number 4.
I think it's not worthy of the number 4 pick, but this guy just Tristan just I don't trust this guy. Like he seems like a Mega Mawile to me, and I guess I have to put it there. But obviously since he picked it, it's probably not worth that pick.
It's probably as slow as a Mega Mawile IRL.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I said in my first video for Hive whoring, and that I was gonna get Mega Mawile, and they let it drop to me. So knowing that you guys know what number or what pick I am, it was very easy for you guys to tell at the least. But let's just move on from there. Number 5 on the list, Megalopunny.
Okay, here. First
Just to
things
follow
first.
up to the okay. Actually, wait. I'll wait.
No, if you want to follow up on that first, because this is about Megalopunny. So you.
Okay, but just to follow up on the Mega Mawile, I'm just surprised that it actually lasted until pick 4. That's just my personal
I thought it would last to pick 4 in IPA, and then Owen's like, I'm picking it pick 1, so don't even think about it. I'm like, well, okay, now I get to trade back comfortably now because I really wanted it. So I mean, oh well.
Well, like it's not always. It hasn't always been allowed. So like I feel like in a lot of leagues. So I think that's part of it is like, if you haven't been able to use it, like it's a solid mon. Like no matter if you're high on it or low on it, like. It's everyone thinks at least at the very worst. Obviously, you can't deny that it's an amazing wall breaker because its stats become ridiculous with the huge power. So like, it's gonna go early a lot of times, as long as someone's never gotten to use it and really wants to. Like I think it's again like since these are all personal preference, it's gonna be a lot like that. But it's an offensive mon that people don't have a lot of experience with in draft league. So I feel like it is kind of surprising that it did go down to 4. Unless, for like Nathan, Paladin, and Paralyzer have all used it, like then maybe they just don't want to use it again, and that's a fair reason.
Alright, so now,
Megalopunny. Yeah, okay, Megalopunny. Everyone in the Hive has a hard on for it, so I wanted to say that was the first pick, honestly. Like I really wanted to, but I couldn't justify that. Like everyone. And so part of that now, since I've been in the Hive and I know that everyone has a hard on for it. Like obviously, if it was ABP in this draft, he took it. Like you'd never have to question that because he does. I've never seen him use any other mega. I don't know if he ever has. But Megalopunny, because of the Hive hard on for it, and I know Paladin's been around for a while in the Hive. I want to say number 2 for Megalopunny, and that's my main reasoning.
Okay.
I don't think it should go number 2 necessarily. Like. I think it's an amazing mon, like don't get me wrong, but I don't think you need to take it that early unless you're worried about other people maybe taking it, and because it's the Hive, that worry being there.
What about you, Josh? What are you thinking here?
Just with the order of what I've already given my my options for the other Pokemon that have been previously listed, I'm going to give it number 6 spot personally, just because of what I feel like it's going to be just because of what I feel like is number 1 and 2.
Okay.
I have to put
it makes sense. I personally, like knowing this stuff, like it's just hearing what you think about these picks and overall and where they should go I think is really unique to get a viewpoint on this. But yeah, so number 6 on this list, Kyurem Black. And I think for myself, Kyurem Black is one of those weird mons because it's like there's people see it either really good or very like they tend to go away from it to the point where it could be a very late first pick or a second round pick. It's weird to me. So what do you guys thought on it? Let's go Jarrett first since it's a 6.
Well, for Kyurem Black, I like never used it, and until like it must have been like a couple seasons ago in IPA. Like I've used it, for one season. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was 2 seasons ago. It was a couple seasons ago.
Yeah,
you had Jarwai in that team as well.
Well, yeah, and then I ended up making it stall at the end. Which, by the way, I liked using Kyurem Black in stall better. By the way, it was way more fun. But like Kyurem Black is so good. Like everyone knows it's really good because they're things just don't switch in. But like you said, like there is kind of a growing sentiment of people like kind of just stay away from it. Like they acknowledge it's good, but they don't really want to use it because not that it restricts you in team building necessarily, but I think having Kyurem Black as your dragon kind of is awkward for a team because the ice typing defensively makes it not even switch into a whole lot of things like other dragons do necessarily. Yeah, like so it's just like it does provide unique resistances. So like I don't want to say complete like obviously it's in the stats there. Like it can be good all around. Like it can be defensive. It can be like all these things, but people tend to stay away from it because of also the speed is kind of So I would say that it probably it should theoretically go top 10 most of the time, but I feel like most of it, it really doesn't, and maybe just Boras fatigue maybe too. I don't know, but I want to say honestly it probably went. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and actually say 16 because
16.
Not that I think it's worth being 16, but I can see people just passing on it and decide, and then someone being at the end with the wheel oh hey I might as well take it if it's still there because it's solid mon whether they were planning to or not. So I'm comfortable with 16.
Okay, what about you, Josh?
The term Boras fatigue because that properly describes Kieran Black in a nutshell. I won't lie to you, but I do definitely agree though that that there's a lot of things that turn off people in terms of what Kieran Black can actually do on paper. With the typing, you become weak to fighting, weak to steel, weak to rock. The list goes on. You don't resist fire anymore, so you already lose a lot of what most dragons have as a defensive utility. And what's the word? Not to mention, base 95 speed doesn't cut it for most offensive mons. And sure, Kieran Black has the benefit that yes, it can live basically everything, unless it's choice banner or choice spec super effective. But I think what really gets most people is that you expect Kieran Black to be a pretty brain dead mon, but it takes a lot of proper skill, in my opinion, to really use it properly. Because you can't just send it out and be like, oh, I'm going to click Life Orb Ice Beam and Life Orb Dragon Claw and 2 KO in the entire team. But you can't just do that. It's not that easy, literally most of the time. So I think for a lot of people, it's oh, this Pokemon's not the brain dead mon that people see Zygarde as, or even Lopunny or Diancie, Megazord X, etc. So, I think for that reason, a lot of people just pick literally any other dragon that's up there in the upper tiers over Kieran Black nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think, 16 literally is a really good number. The only reason why it would go lower is because somebody might have never used Kieran Black before and wanted to get it before everybody else could.
Would you like to put it there?
I'll put it number 16 because I don't know what any of these guys what they've picked before ever. So just a realistic number for it would be 16 IMO. So yeah. That's going to be my spot.
Next pick. I know that you guys had some thoughts about this, specifically you, Josh. Victini.
Yeah, Victini is an interesting Pokemon because it's not that it's bad, but it's definitely not worth the round 1 pick in the generation that we currently live in. Because there's in my opinion, 16 better Pokemon that you can build a team around that's better than Victini. Just, especially with the limited usage of what Z moves are allowed, Z Omni Boost isn't allowed, so obviously that lowers what Victini can do. So it's offensive compatibilities will revolve around Victinium, Z or Thunder or whatever, because you're not really going to run Z Fire most of the time or Z Psychic. So, in my opinion, it's really very interesting that this mon went round 1. So that means that this person, either one, just really likes Victini, so had to get it round 1 to ensure they got it before anybody else could, or they've just never used Victini before and for some reason wanted to use it here. But I have a very familiar feeling. Well, I have a very good feeling that it's the first one because I know people just between you and me that are diehard Victini fans. They will get it round 1 if it's still available. So, in my opinion,
I know of specific Flame Doge that would, But you good, Josh? Oh, all right. Josh?
Because literally, okay, but
you good?
What?
You good now?
Oh, did I cut off? Oh,
either you moved from this chat to the next chat, or
I probably cut off. Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
No idea.
You were talking about how usually it's someone that really wants it. And
you think it specifically?
Tristan was just mentioning that the Flame Doge that we know that is someone that always wants it and is willing to pick it for first round.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's the reasoning. So my number is shot in the dark purely because I don't know who likes Victini in this roster.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to pick number 12.
Number 12.
But like as a follow-up, it could literally be anybody from 1 through 16 because if they like Victini, they're just going to pick it because it's there. So.
Yeah. How about you, Jared?
Okay, I'm cheating here in the sense that, well, since I'm in the server and I've seen someone has a logo with the Victini in it.
Okay.
And that is pure. That is good enough reasoning for me because I completely 100% agree with what Josh said. Is that Victini, if you're gonna pick it first round, that means you really want to use it really badly. And I don't think that necessarily the demand is there, but also because of the positioning that person is in, I can see why they might have a desire to pick it round 1 because that person is, and at the number 7 spot, you're kind of in the middle, and your second round pick isn't for a while. So I'm willing to say that AJ likes Victini a lot and is willing to pick it the first round because it might not be there for that second round pick.
Yeah, definitely. Josh, would you like to change or?
Yeah, I changed it to number 7.
Yeah, no, that just kind of stuff like this, like you're gonna know some people like Victini, just basically, I guess, I don't know, man. But nonetheless, we have Victini there. Our next pick here is Landorus Therian, and which I think is another mon that's people either really love or just forget it's there for some reason. What say you?
Like, I almost want to say that it has some fatigue to it, too. Like, I don't think it has as much fatigue as Kieran Black, which I feel like it honestly deserves more fatigue than Kieran Black because it's, most people also play OU and they know it's the top used, mon in Smogon. So, like, obviously, as far as drafting, I think it's way more fun to use in draft than it is in, standard because it does have such a cool move pool that it really is amazing at most roles. Like it can be great in so many different ways that it is a really solid first round pick. I think that while I don't really like it all that much personally, like I haven't used it. I've actually used Dank Force way more, so I think that's part of it is that I'm so much more used to the sheer force that I just like that way too much to care about Therian form, but it is amazing, and I think it you can easily see it being picked top 5 a lot of the time, but because everyone kind of feels that way, and it's like a general consensus on that, and it's been that way for a long time, I think it does slip. And where I could see it slipping is maybe to the 10th pick at Matt. I think that seems like a point where someone might realize, like Matt might have seen at that point, like, hey, maybe I wasn't thinking that Lando was going to be on the board initially, so I didn't necessarily plan for this, but it's Lando. Like that literally, you can bring that every week. You can find a set, so it's something that's just easy to bring and is usually a big threat. So I feel like 10 is a solid place for it to go.
Right above that Victini, God. But okay, what about you, Josh? What do you got to say?
I mean, I'm sure most people probably know what Landorus T does at this point. It's 2018. It has Intimidate, has Stealth Rock, has Stab Earthquake, has Flying Fly. Yeah, it's true, actually. What? Yeah, 3 more days? 2 more days, actually. But anyways. Yeah, it has Rock Power, Swords Dance, yeah, it could Gravity, it could do a bunch of stuff. It could be special, actually, because of Calm Mind, and a decent special attack stat. Good special coverage, but nonetheless, yeah, Landorus T does have a exceptionally good move pool that most people probably don't really dive into.
Yeah.
And, yeah, earlier in Generation 7, I would argue that most people would probably pick it very, very early, just because a lot of people saw it as damn near broken because 80% of the entire meta died to Z-Fly, and there was nothing they could do about it unless they had Protect. So I could see the demand for it, but at this point, it's almost been 2 years since Sun and Moon came out. So, yeah. No, it's been over 2 years. Yeah. It's been over 2 years since Sun and Moon came out. So at this point, yeah, I think most people have gotten over the gunna effect of what it can really do. So I do agree that it did go higher. So just looking at the mons that are available below it and their skill level, it's very hard because a lot of them could be in that same level. It just depends on literally the preference of the person. So I'll put it at 9. I'll give it a comfortable 9 because I don't think I've used that. I have not used that.
You might want to save 9 for the next.
Oh, I did look at 9 earlier. That's what I was thinking about. That's why. No wonder why 10 was such a comfortable number. Yeah,
that's why I felt comfortable with it.
I think 10's actually a good number. Yeah.
All right then. All right, just typing it in. Again, gotta fix the list. Boom, and there we go. Okay, yeah, no. So, Jarrett, once again, helping you out there. But nonetheless, moving to that next pick, which I think is going to be fairly easy for you guys, is that Ferrothorn, which I think I'm just going to let Jarrett take the lead on this one since he knows a lot more about this than Josh.
Yes. Good. Arf, awesome guy. He always picks Ferrothorn first round. So that's it. Like I've been around in Hive for a while. Like I was in the same division as him last season, and so I believe I was like 4th pick and he was 3rd pick. He picked Ferrothorn at 3rd pick, so why wouldn't he pick it at 9th pick? Because he loves Ferrothorn, and so I think that was just an easy assumption on my part, and so I think Ferrothorn's a cool mon. I've never actually personally used it because I have an aversion to slow 4 times weak mons.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just refuse to pick them most of the time unless I'm gonna like decide to like stack a million 4 times weak mons, or well actually, no, that's not true. The only 4 times weak mon that's really slow that I've ever picked or 2 picks are Mega Abomasnow and Mega Camerupt, because you get extra value from picking the lower tier Mega usually.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only ones I'm usually willing to pick. So I've never actually used Ferrothorn, but in theory it seems decent. I mean, I personally don't see it as all that good in League format. Like it's probably way better in like standard format than in League, just because of that 4 times weakness. Although its stats are amazing. Like it's the stats you want in any defensive Pokemon. Like it lives fire moves because of that. So, and it takes on like usually like Chople and or Akaberry. Like those are going to be the ways that Ferrothorn's going to get hit. So once you're prepared for that, you can really make it useful. And I know Arf is really good with it too. So like it's not a bad first round pick in his hands, honestly. But if it wasn't him picking it, I would be more concerned. But definitely number 9, Arf.
You got anything to say about that, Josh?
Well, my reasoning was a little different because there's 10 letters in the name Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn has 1 stage evolution. 10 minus 1 is 9. Arf has the 9th pick, so I was thinking it lines up perfectly. So therefore, it must be number 9. That was my reasoning.
I think I like that better than yours, Jarrett.
He sometimes Josh, he's just too smart for me sometimes. Like I can't help it. Like I try to sound smart, but he just knows.
Yeah, no. And speaking of smart, who's the smart person that grabbed Megalopunny, and where did that pick go?
You want me to explain this one first?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay. So since literally when did Megalopunny come out? 2014? Mm-hmm. It's been arguably just an undeniable first round pick because of its raw power. The fact that nothing is immune to its stabs. The fact that no mon resists both stabs in the entire game is enough to just tell you, okay, this mon is pretty good. Not to mention the combination of quick attack plus fake out does a lot of damage to a lot of frail threats, and with the priority makes it pretty good. And stab high jump kick, base 134 attack. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, long story short, Megalopunny is a very, very fantastic Pokemon that, as of late, over the last couple of years, or just in my opinion, has gone unspoken. But to be fair, we've already preached the same book enough at this point. Megalopunny is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's basically all you got to know. So the question is, where did it end up? And with the power creep of Gen 7, it more often than not will end up in the back stretch of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at what's been picked, on my screen, what I have is number 3, what I have is number 1, and possibly number 2. It's very hard. It's very hard to put a number on it, I won't lie. Because...
do you need me to recap what you do have left in your spots?
I typed it down. I'm looking at my screen.
Okay, just making.
That's why I'm I have this all lined up in my head. So I don't think it went top 3. I wouldn't believe it did, but I also wouldn't be surprised. So if I had to give it a number, I would give it number 8 because I don't think it should go past that.
8. All right. What about you, Jared?
And just looking at
Okay, I'm still waffling right now because I kind of want to give it to Rio because as I said earlier, I've seen him use it, and that would be literally the only basis, which is not really a great basis for it. But I think because it was basically considered the best Mega in ORAS to many people. It's there's always going to be a debate on what's the best, but that one was generally in the conversation always in ORAS, and it's not quite the same now just because of that power creep that Josh mentioned. It's not seen as oh, you have to get it immediately, but you don't blame someone for getting it early.
Yeah. So
I kind of want to lean either the back end or the front end, but not the middle. And so I'm kind of waffling between number 3 and then I feel 13's a good spot for it, which leads me back to Rio, who there's no real reason that he should necessarily pick it.
No pun intended.
I've literally just because I've battled him and he had it one time, that's a really bad reasoning. But I'm gonna do it anyway. I think it went 13 purely because, at least based off also how I've had these things stacking up. I had Mega Gallade going 2 and Mega Mawile going 4. Yeah. I don't think that it would necessarily go number 3 because while yes, a lot of people can freak out, oh, there's Megas coming off the board really quick. I feel after Mega Mawile and Mega Gallade, it might have kind of dropped off as not that pressing. So I feel then people might have altered their whether they were thinking picking Mega first or not. I don't know that it necessarily altered completely, but with Gallade and Mega Mawile in my mind going off the board early, I can see Megalopunny kind of falling. And so I'm comfortable with that at 13, although I do agree with Josh that it probably should go top 8. That's for just its actual value, it should go earlier than the 13th spot.
Yeah, I think so. I think Lopunny is one of those mons. It's I think that with everything that's been through League format this last this last half generation with Usum, just be I think Lopunny has very kind of fallen down the list of what people genuinely look at in League as far as Omega goes, and in a total just first round draft goes as well. But I think it's definitely worth a first round draft pick as well. I'd probably put it around the 8 to 12 at the max, but other than that, I love your guys' reasonings. But yeah, so moving on. Greetings, Kingsicle. Moving on, we got Clefable. Where did Clefable go?
So, who wants to go here first? Who wants to go first?
Let's go, Jared. You went first last time.
I'll take it since we've been alternating. Clefable. Okay, I've used Clefable a couple times. I'm not super high on it personally, but I understand that it does good things. That's not. It can be feel almost unbeatable. Since King.
Drive the Kingsicle.
Yeah, so Kingsicle joined the call. It did remind me of a time where it was the mighty Clefable that did stop the Owen Dynasty in the IPA. So I do know that it is really good and almost unkillable at times.
I feel like he timed that out.
Yeah, he really
didn't know
did.
when.
That was amazing.
He timed that out.
But yeah, so Clefable, it's a really good mod. Like it's very versatile in that it's because it will used to be a normal type. It has a million coverage. The Magic Guard and Unaware are just two amazing abilities that any Pokemon would be lucky to just have one of them. And then the pure Fairy typing at least makes up for its, I would say, like decent stats. Like the stats aren't amazing, but it's better than those stats because of everything else going for it. So, like it's. Because of the top ooze now, at least top of Coco especially, it's not going to be the first fairy off the board. But especially based off this list, it looks. I'm not sure. I want to say that it's the second fairy that came off the board. Like, well, I see another fairy on the list, and I'll explain why at least later in the explanation for that mon later. But I think that this one probably went third off the board for fairies. With that in mind, because it is still a really good mon, but it's usually kind of pigeonholed into defensive role, and defensive mons don't generally go at the beginning, at least in my mind. And so I would want to say that it probably went at number I'm gonna say 12.
You seem very uncertain about that.
With all that confidence, I'm going with 12.
Yeah, you'll be able to change it if you so want, but
I super confident.
12. Okay, but what about you, Josh? Where is this boy going?
It's very, very interesting, actually. Fable was a round one pick in almost any situation. But in my mind, the only logical reasoning is that you are a wheel pick or a damn near wheel pick. Because Clefable, with a follow-up of another good dragon, makes for a very good idea. And to me personally, I think that's the only reason why you just pick it round one. That way you can have the security of having that guaranteed really good fairy.
Yeah. And
then your wheel pick, you can just work with whatever is available to solidify your core. So to me, I think it's number 15. If it's not number 15, it's number 16.
Yeah.
But I already have Kieran Black as 16,
yes,
so therefore I'm going to put Fable as 16. I'm going to put it as. Therefore, I'm just going to put it at 15 because I just feel like that's the only reasoning why you would pick Clefable in round one. Just in my opinion.
Yeah, no, of course. I think Clefable is one of those mons that I've been wanting to use a lot lately, and I have it in a different league now, and I was able to get it round 2. Well, I got it round 1 of regular because it was S tier first round, so I got my first round of regular. I'm like, I didn't want to mess with it anyways. I'm like, I'm just going to get this because I really want this, and I thought it synergized well with my pick. So I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to pick it. There was no reason for me not to, really. So I picked it anyways. But then, on top of that, I think Clefable is just a generally good mon. I don't think that it would go, like, I don't think it would go like a top 8 or top 10 draft pick, to be honest. But I'd put it near a back side of a draft if I did have to put one. So I agree with your reasoning mostly here, too. And with that, we go on to another fairy, which was Mega Diancie. What about you, Josh? Where do you think Mega Diancie went?
Okay. Hopefully my connection's not going too spotty. But
you're okay right now.
Okay. Yeah, Mega Diancie is a very interesting Pokemon because of the base 160 offenses on both sides.
Yes.
Makes for physical and offense. Makes for both physical and special, or just mixed, to be very fantastic options. Like, you can run a Diamond Storm with like 4 special attack and you're going to be hit like a truck still. Because I believe, like, not invested, you're still at 300 some. Very high 300 some, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the base stats off the top of my head, but I think that sounds right. But yeah, I've always liked Mega Diancie personally. It's a threat and a half whenever you have to play it. Like, because of its typing, most priority is not going to be very effective against it. Like, unless you have Aqua Jet or Bullet Punch, it's not going to be a good time. So, therefore, even through its loss of bulk, I don't think it really gets hindered too much through that type of offense. So I think Mega Dante is just a very underrated option under that circumstance because not a lot of Pokemon that are that offensive can have that right of resistance. So, but putting that all together, where does it end up in the board? Well, it's a mon that's also sort of fallen off through generation because of the power creep. One of many Pokemon to really go through that. So it's interesting where it might go because I'm looking at it and I actually haven't picked a 2 yet. And there's not the remaining Pokemon don't actually look like 2. So
you'll be able to change. Don't worry. So
yeah, I'll mix it around. But I would put it slightly above the first half just because most people just forget it exists. Until you're like, wait, there's Broken Powerhouse. I can still pick it. It's a fairy type. Let me pick it. Why not? So I'll put it at number 11, just above 10.
Okay.
Because I don't think I have 11 yet.
No,
so.
You don't have 11.
Okay, sweet.
And what about you, Jarrett?
I really like Mega Dante. Like it's the obvious. It's fast and it hits hard. Like that's what more can you ask for in a first round pick? And honestly the fairy and rock solid coverage. Obviously you're missing out on steel types, but you have earth power on your own as well as hidden power if it's 4 times weakness to exploit, and then you can patch up with other members. And since it is so fast, the 4 times weakness to steel is not a big deal, other than for the bullet punch mons, which are more or less pretty rare.
Yeah,
it's just like some random fighting types for the most part. So I think it's really good. I do agree that it kind of has fallen off in a sense that just because like as time goes on, I feel like it's hard to gauge megas because they're all relative to each other. So like a lot of people might have tried to use it early on because of the new mechanic from just Gen 7 being that you didn't have you got the speed immediately. So a lot of people might have tried it early on. But I can also see, maybe some people didn't get to because it was getting picked maybe earlier than it probably should be at the beginning of the generation, now that it's been a couple years. And so I like it in the middle. And so I'm actually going to put it at number 8.
All right.
While 8 is... I can like it at 8, but I could see it, like people justifying like, oh, maybe there's better things that probably should go before it. But like I think it's still solid at 8. Like it's one of the better megas, so it's hard to go wrong with a really solid mega in the first round.
Yeah, for sure. And next we move into the last 4 Pokemon here, and just going over how our little rosters look here. I feel like Jarrett has made his have a lot more wiggle room because he has some in the top spots open. He has some of the middle. He had some of the middle spots open, then some of the last spots open, and for like breathing room. And then Josh, you just have the 1 and 2 pick, and then 12 and 14 now. It's like you can't say anything about a middle pick, because you don't have any of those.
Yeah,
left.
I feel like I got that out of the way for the most part.
Yeah. But nonetheless, you do get the chance to change what you want. So we'll move on to the next mon, Mew.
Mew, ooh, it does everything. Like
it does
what more
everything.
can you say? It literally does like everything, and like it's super good. Like I feel like it's so easy to say, it should go top 5 because it's it's the most versatile Pokemon there is. But then it's so easy to say, like a lot of people like I guess the argument I hear a lot is like for people who don't like it as much is that, well, you have to have the right set for it to be like super good, and obviously you can pick from a million sets, and so finding that right set can be a challenge. But that's something that I think is actually a positive because that's since it's a counter teaming format, being creative and really finding that right set is what makes it really fun. And so I think with that in mind, it will always be, top pick because it is, base 100 across the board, psychic type solid, gets all the coverage and whatnot. So it's always going to be a first round pick. Like that's without saying. But then I feel like it should generally be a first half of the first round. And I think at number 6 is a good time to pick it because it's like its value. It can make you can use if you use it super well. It could have been first overall pick, honestly. But at the 6 point, I can see someone saying like, "Hey, Mew is still on the board, and it's fits on every team. You can find a way to fit it and fit a role that you may need, or you can try to feature it, build a draft around it, and you don't have to make that decision immediately." So I think at number 6, it's a safe pick to just say, hey, I can figure out the rest of the draft around this in any way I really want to, whether I want to feature this or not, but it can cover whatever I may need it in the future, and it's good enough to do a lot of those pretty well.
Okay, well, I'll have to tell you this now.
Oh wait, no, hold up, hold up. I saw it. Yeah, no, dang it. I know. I was looking at the. Dang it. What did I not pick then? Okay, and I have 11, 14, and 3 left as well.
You have 11, 14,
dang it.
3, and 5.
Okay, 5. Whatever. I was close enough. 5 is good enough. Yeah, I'm going 5.
So you go 5.
That's what I meant.
How about you, Josh? How about you?
Wait, what can we switch up our picks? Do we have to wait until the very end?
Yeah, just fill out the spots right now, I guess. Unless you really want to.
Okay. I can wait till the end.
Okay.
Because I'll give my reasoning later. But Mew's very interesting because it's the same old story for years at this point. Mew can do everything. Oh yeah, Mew can literally run every set in the game, and you could beat any team because they could run in set. Base 400 speed, base 100 bulk, base 100 offense, base 100. Yeah, we get the drill. But it doesn't really do everything. I've never seen Mew do everything because it can't. But put it into that perspective, I've never actually seen it effectively use its creativity in the most positive manner. If anything, it's the biggest downfall because you put too much pressure on it and it doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Not to mention, over the course of time, it just gets worse overall, just in my opinion. And just because of the amount of power that gets introduced through each generation, it just gets outclassed at what it can do really well. As in being a bulky psychic, there's a lot of better options out there. Not just better bulky psychics, but just bulky Pokemon in general. For offensive psychics, there's better options in general. So it has to refrain from being its common stereotype and has to be something that's very unorthodox. And in my opinion, that's probably the best thing it can do. But obviously with the introduction of Medium Z, it's a little better offensively, but still, I think there's better options. But putting that to perspective, Mew actually walls a lot of the current Gen 7 meta, especially looking at the mons that have been drafted, like a hard wall is Megalopunny. It stops Mega Gallade decently well. It could stop Mega Mawile decently well. It could be just a decent physical answer in general. Not to mention it has pretty good offensive capabilities because it gets every move in the game. Z moves are a thing. I'm not sure if Medium Z is allowed in
Hive, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you basically have your mini Tapu Lele, almost better because it's faster, but not really because it's weaker. But nonetheless, I'm going to put Mew in a very high spot for now. That's why I was bringing this up earlier. For now, it's going to be my number 2.
All right.
But because I do believe it, I do believe just look at the mons that were picked. I think it was up there, and I think it was up there with the picks in the very early going of the draft, and yeah, that's my reasoning for it being so.
Hey, I mean, I'll take it for that kind of reasoning. I think Mew is just such a good mon that I was willing to draft at number 4 if Mega Mawile got taken, or if, say, Tapu Coco or Celesteela was not taken. I would have thrown in Mew with that conversation, a debate between. So with that, we have Mega Charizard X, which is surprising for me because I don't really see it as a first round pick. I mean, I know its dominance though. So I mean, what about you guys? What do you think? How about Josh? You go first.
So this is actually the last Mega we're covering in the first round here.
Yes,
it was one of 4 Megas that were drafted, I believe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. I counted earlier, just couldn't remember, but yeah. 1 of the 5 megas drafted in round 1, and I mean, I'm a firm believer Megazord X is like fantastic, just because for one, it has pretty good bulk. So and its typing is awesome. It's very very weak to very little things. It's weak to what ground and literally dragon. Am I missing anything? I think it's
Rock.
Rock. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Those
it's
are
weak
the
to
only
rock, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 weaknesses. One which is already a very hard offensive typing to switch into. The other one is even harder, rock and ground if you didn't catch on to that. And what's the other one?
Dragon.
Dragon. Well, yeah, dragon. There's decent resistances. Your steel, fairy, yeah, which most common cores could patch up nowadays. So yeah, Zardex has a very good common framework that it can revolve around in this generation. It's a pretty great stop to Coco. That's a pretty good reason in itself. It's a great stop to Celesteela. Like, just looking at the mods that were drafted, you can't tell me that it doesn't beat a 1v1 most of the time because it's just that type of Pokemon. It has amazing bulk, amazing offense on both sides, but typically you're going to use physical offense just because of Tough Claws and Flare Blitz being amazingly strong. And you don't really need offense to really get strong, I would know personally. Like, I used it in IPA, and it did pretty good, I would say personally. Like, I used both Zards. Like, those 2 seasons were basically an experiment about which Zard I felt like was more comfortable and more, what's the word? More comfortability just overall in team building. And Zard X is just a way better option because obviously it's much better defensive typing and it just has it almost has less switch-ins than Zard Y, which is kind of contrary because obviously Zard Y is very, very, very strong. But Zard X can also have way more options than I think Zard Y can because obviously Zard X has very good utility and has very good options with Dragon Dance, even like Belly Drum. It gets cursed now with the Gen 2 transfer, actually, which is also pretty cool. So, yeah, Zardex in general, I think it's underrated. I've always been on that train. I think people just they look at the one set, and if it doesn't work, then it's bad, which is the Dragon Dance Roost 2 attack set, or even Dragon Dance 3 attacks. So, I think it's really good, but obviously, not a lot of people will see it as worth. Not a lot of people will see it as being taken early on, but if it's available, people will take it. So I think it definitely went a little higher, and I have number 12 and 14 available.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
For those higher picks.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna put it at 12
Alright.
because it's still good. It's a good mega. Like it's easily, in my opinion, one of the top. Well, obviously there's 5 megas taken here, but I think it's a top 5 mega in my eyes personally. And I can get good reasoning to it. So I'm gonna put it at number 12.
Alright.
And that's about it.
How about you,
You have to say Jared.
Jared?
I feel pretty much the same as you. Like, actually, I haven't used Zard. I've used Zardex once in Gen 7, and I think otherwise, like, I used it, like, a couple times in, like, Gen 6, but, like, it's, like, I haven't really used it a whole lot recently at all. But it is always a huge threat. Like, it's so hard to prep for. It's just because, like, Fire and Dragon offensive stab is already, like, a nightmare to deal with. But, like, it does get good coverage. It does get solid utility moves, like obviously the most common things are going to be like making it have Will-O-Wisp and Roost to just sit there, but then you can still even make it Dragon if you can do mono attacking. Like, I think, like, while, like, there's not a whole lot of variance in how it's actually used because most people either use it Dragon Dance, defensively, or just Roost and attack. I think that's kind of most of what it's going to be. Or at least the way I generally used it was, like, the most common way I used it was no offensive investment, but then Dragon Dance Roost 2 attacks. Like, that's
how I used to use it too.
Yeah. Like you don't need to have that offensive presence because if you use the bulk, then it just lives hits because of the bulk it gains, and then like you mentioned earlier, the typing is so good and it has so many cool resistances. Like we mentioned earlier that Kyurem, the ice typing, takes away a lot of cool resistances. Well, the Fire plus Dragon does not at all, and instead it actually, like, it takes away Fairy as being an issue, which this is one of the the few dragons that you're gonna have a hard time having a Fairy beat this. Like, it's almost impossible to beat this dragon, whereas most other dragons, yes, they get the coverage for a Fairy, but usually you can just slap on a steel berry or a like poison berry. Like that's literally like enough. But you can't do that with Dardex. You're not usually trying to do super effective damage. You're just doing like stab moves with Tough Claws boosting it.
So with that, where does it go?
Personally, it's best Mega just because Mega evolving it is an issue on its own. Because of the times 4 weakness to rocks, like that just makes it more annoying. And because of that, I think it does go later in the round, like almost exclusively because of that, as well as the people not really being creative with it and thinking it's more of a brain dead mon. So I'm willing to put it at like number 11 because
Because of what?
People don't really want to pick it early.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times picking a 4 times weak mon to rocks is just a huge turnoff, especially your first pick, and then you're so worried about defog and rapid spin options that I think number 11 is where like it probably falls to the back end, and I think 11 might be honestly early, but I'm willing to say that in this case, based off of what else has gone, like at least in my mind earlier, I think number 11 is a solid place for it to go.
All right, I appreciate it. Now we go to our second to last dragon that was picked, and that was Latios. Where did Latios go, Jarrett?
Well, okay, like, so also, as I've been building this, like, I have, I think, Garchomp at 15 and Kieran Black at 16. I'm gonna put Latios, I'll say it at the front end here, at 14, which I realize have it now, like, seeing it in order, like, oh yeah, 3 dragons in a row seems kind of suspect. I'm willing to stick. I'm not even gonna change my order, by the way. I'm already telling you. I'm confidence here. I think that 14 is a solid spot because it's a solid mon. Like the dragon and psychic typing, it has a lot of weaknesses, so it's kind of limited defensively, and also its stats, while they're decent, because all legendaries have good stats. Like that's just that helps them out. Like it's not like the extra bulk that Latios has does make a big difference in that sense, but obviously the trade-off is, well, it's offense. Amazing. It gets good coverage because dragons just all get great coverage and they're the best type. Or one, I go back and forth between steel and dragon for best typing and format, but that's another. That's probably another discussion for another video. But Latios, it's solid speed. It has the options to be hazard removal as well as longevity in roost and setup and calm mind and even dragon dance with solid move pool, so it's always gonna go. Like I don't like it in the first round personally, just because there's so many good dragons. Like we've already mentioned, so many dragons in this first round.
Yeah,
personally, but it is still a really good mon. Like I think with dragons and psychic types, there's so many good ones that it's hard to fault anyone for picking them usually where they do, because there's a lot of good options. I would say so. I think 14 is solid because you don't feel like you're reaching for it, because there might be some other dragons that most people think are better than it, but I don't think it's necessarily as tired as a Kieran Black, where like I think Kieran Black is better than Latios, but I can see Latios getting picked before it because I think Latios is something that can be seen as more complementary, just because you don't really worry about its weaknesses as much, because a lot of those kind of get covered up by a dark type, or not. Well, I guess not a dark type, but like you can cover up the weaknesses, I think, easier than with a Kieran Black, because Kieran Black just has all the ice related weaknesses. So I think, and the speed tier really, so much better than Kieran Black's, especially. And if you're just so geared as mainly being offensive, I think that speed tier is actually just really nice to have and makes it a solid dragon for late first round.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Josh? I know that you're kind of strapped for where Latios is going to go, because it's either also 14 with Jarrett or it's the first pick. So
Yeah, and well, I guess me and Jared are gonna share the 14 pick here because that's definitely my spot. But I was also gonna bring up the point that yeah, the speed tier of 110 compared to 95 is just worlds better in almost every way.
Mhm.
And I do definitely prefer Latios over Latios. I'm on that train. I always have been, always will be. But Latios also has that base 130 special attack with Go and Psychic and Psyshock Thunder and Earthquake for Magnezone and Heatran. Like, it has the stuff going for it. So I can see why it would go round one, but there's also way more good reasons for it to not go round one. So I agree with Jared in that aspect too.
Mhm.
So I definitely have to put, I would have to put Latios at the high end of the drafts. And I looking back at it, it's weird that Kieran Black would go after Latios, but I'm still gonna keep like he also did bring up the point that yeah, there's more fatigue towards Kieran Black than Latios. Like Latios, it's not fresh by any stretch of the imagination,
Mhm.
but it's not as boring. I wouldn't call Kieran Black boring, but you get the point.
Yeah.
I could see why people would pick Latios before Kieran Black. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my order, and I'm gonna put Latios at 14 for that
All right.
reasoning.
And with the last pick here for you guys to decide, this was Zygarde 50%.
I believe me and Jarrett are also going to trade the number one pick here with this
Uh,
Zygarde, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Zy-
I had Coco at number 1.
Yeah, so filling
So
in.
what, you're number two?
No, he
number
has
3.
three. So,
Wow. Okay.
so by necessity, Zygarde has to be 1 and 3 on your guys' own list, respectively. Do you have anything to say about why Zygarde might be a high up pick, or if? Well, this is more towards Jarrett since he said that he's keeping his list like this. Why would you think that Zygarde would go 3?
I think it's just so easy to use, man. Thousand Arrows is so broken. Like it's just like it makes it so good. Like I will admit I got to Zygarde in Gen 6. There was not that many people on that train, but Zygarde I used it in Gen 6 actually, like probably more than I've used it in Gen 7. Just because also you got value out of it. Like it was a discount Garchomp. Like it's at least in most ways, but it also got Dragon Dance instead of stuff. So it was a trade-off. But Zygarde, it's so beautiful. Like it's a legendary Pokemon, so the stats are pretty balanced. So I mean, even if you want to tech on a Sludge Wave for a Bulu, you can do that. Or Iron Tail works too. Like it's got solid coverage. Like it gets what it needs. Like most of the time, Thousand Arrows is really all you need since it hits flying types like broken ground move as it is, because ground is already amazing offensive type. So Thousand Arrows alone already makes it amazing. The stats are so bulky that you don't you can either invest in attack and make it hit super hard as well as it'll just live hits naturally, or if you invest in bulk, it sets up on the fatter things that are going to switch into it, fearing a potential banded set. So I think that it's honestly one of the best Mons in Gen 7 draft format, because I think, at least in my mind, I think it's actually forced a lot of people to pick grass types earlier on. And I think that impact on its own, like one Pokemon having access to this move is going to make you think, oh, I need a better ground switch in than just, the flying types or the levitating Mons. Like, I think that on its own creates such big value that it puts a strain on other teams, in addition to it just being also a super cool mod.
And so, are we ready to move on to any changes for you, Josh?
I'm going to move Mew and Coco. Coco to 2 and Mew to 5. That's my only difference.
That's your only difference?
Yeah.
All right. And, Tapu Koko went to 2 and Mew to 5. Alright, and are we positive on those changes? Is everything set for you guys? Are we ready for the results?
Sure.
Dude, I know I nailed it, obviously.
Yeah, so how these will go is There's 16 draft picks on here. If you got it correct, you get 2 points, and if you're one off in either direction, you get 1 point. And so basically, whoever has the most ends up winning this little game we're doing here. And so, with this, the number 1 pick in the draft, held by Nathan here, was actually Tapu Koko. So Jarrett has.
Fuck you, Jarrett. God
Dude,
damn it.
I told you.
Was Tapu Koko.
Oh,
With
no.
that,
Everyone wants it at the beginning.
With that, Josh was number 2.
It's not
with
even that
Coco.
good, dude.
So
Come
Coco was
on.
number 2 for Josh, so Josh does get a point, but Jarrett gets that 2 points on it. The number 2 Mon of this draft. Uh-oh. Josh left.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll break the news to Josh.
God.
Since obviously I destroyed him.
Josh, you good?
Test? Am I back?
Yeah.
Yes, you're here.
Dude, I got so mad that the internet kicked me out. Shit. Come on, man.
Okay, so the number 2 pick in the draft was Celesteela,
Oh shit.
which Josh had as number 3, which gets him another point.
Yep. Point. Whatever.
The number 3 pick in the draft was Megalopunny,
Oh, see, I knew it went early because
Which-
It actually went that early.
which
told you,
gives
everyone has a hard on
which
for it in the
Garrett-
Hive.
which gives Jarrett another point on that. So Jarrett is ahead 3-2 at this point.
Bro, are you serious? Why number 3?
I don't.
Are you
Hey,
kidding?
it got me Mega
Oh,
Mall while at
God.
number 4. Both of you were correct on that one by necessity, basically. So both of you got 2 points. Jarrett's at 5, and Josh is at 4 right now. Number 5 pick was Kieran Black.
Oh shit.
Bro, are you kidding me? Who picked this as number 5? Wait, I'm checking the list. H. Collins a dumb nigga. Hello? Why would you pick number 5? That's fucking stupid.
Okay.
Oh my god.
God. Both of you
Come
were
on,
way
bro.
off on that one.
Oh my god.
No,
No,
okay, no.
come on.
In fairness to both Josh and I, okay, Josh, when's the last time you've seen Kieran Black go top 5? Like, I don't think I have in literally the last 2 years.
Literally, since it was hyped as shit back in like 2016 or like 2015.
All right. Number 6.
Wow.
Both of you were very wrong on it since it was Mega Galay and Celesteela, respectively. Both those were top 5 in this draft. So it's not Mega Galay or Celesteela. In fact, it is Megalopunny, which
Oh shit.
no one gets a point for that. So it is still 5-4 right now. What are we at? Number 7? AJ.
Oh, dude, I was 1 pick away. Shit, come on.
AJ, coach
Robbie
of the Toronto Blue Flares, I believe that, with the Victini logo, obviously picking the Victini, so that's another 2 points for both of you. So it is now 7-6, I believe. Number 8 with the Leo. I have a feeling you guys are going to be upset about this one, but it was Fable.
No.
It
no.
was Fable.
I mean, I guess I can see it, but I don't agree with it.
No,
I
I
don't
cannot see it, nor do I agree with
Because
it.
if you go back to my reasoning, like it's completely contrary to what I was saying. Because I think Fable is great with the wheel pick, but number 8 is literally the complete opposite of the wheel. So it's like,
No, I'm willing to say it right now. It's a bad 8 pick.
it's a horrible 8 pick. Are you serious?
Okay. Move on. Number 9, Arf. Jarrett, you know Arf. You know him well. Josh went along with your train. Number 9 was Ferrothorn. So the game is now 9-8. Number 10 with Matt was Landorus Therian. Both of you.
I'm a god.
We're
Such a god. Oh my.
Wow.
So now the score is 11
Oh
to
my
10.
god. Dude, are you serious?
Number 11 from the boy Phil. Mew.
Oh, dang it, dude. Fuck
Which
me. Come
Hive
on.
draft let Mew drop, by the way.
Yeah,
number
like
11.
jeez.
Which
like,
I don't blame you guys for not having Mew higher up, to be honest.
Clefable at 8, but Mew at 11, and
I mean, I can
Leonardo
believe
at
it.
10. No,
I
I
can believe
refuse.
it, but still.
I
Oh, yeah.
refuse.
Number 12, Mega Butterfree. He ended up going with Garchomp, which Josh had at number 13, so he has tied this game up at 11 now.
Let's go.
Number 14, Cat in the Mexico City Ludicolo.
No, you skipped 13.
Yeah, when did it be 13?
13. Rio. Okay, number 13 was the Zygarde 50%.
Oh yeah, how did that just fall to 13?
Yep.
Wait.
No one got that correct, so the game is tied at 11 right
You're telling me Fable, Kyurem, Megalopunny, Garchomp. This all went before Zygarde.
Wait, yeah. Hold on. Someone picked Garchomp before Zygarde. Hello?
Yeah.
God
No.
damn.
No.
Yeah,
That's not okay.
Number 14 was, in fact, Latios.
Was it Latios?
So both of you got it right. And
Bro,
so
we're in a
now
tie.
it's 13
Yeah, we're literally gonna
to
tie.
13.
Yeah,
Wait, no,
I
Yep.
Yeah, I can't get the points on them either.
The game
can't
is
get 15 or
tied.
16. We're gonna end in a tie.
Snivy at 15 chose Mega Diancie. So no one got that right there. And
Oh, it was Zardex is number 16.
16
Yeah.
was in fact Zardex. So
I was gonna put that.
the final score was 13-13, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Close enough. Like, it was
Either way,
a
it's a tie. It's a tie no matter
It
what.
was
You
a
can say
tie.
69, 69. It means the same thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Dude,
So
no.
there we have it, people. 13-13. There were some correct predictions in there, like the Latios and Lando for sure, even with like no context clues whatsoever. So there was that. 13-13. Josh and Jarrett tied. What do you guys have to say? Because I feel like you guys are more frustrated at the roster than anything else.
I just don't understand some of these ideas. Like, I hope their teams weren't as bad as their ideas here, because that's all I have to say. Like, this is insane. Why? I just don't get it. Don't get it.
What about you, Jarrett?
Some people got some value picks because of those. I was gonna say like boneheaded picks, but I'm gonna be nice and say some interesting choices early
Okay.
on. Like I think there was a lot of value that was had at the end of the first round. Like I would feel really happy if I Zygarde.
Pick 13 Zygarde? Are you kidding me?
Like, bro, like come on, like, and so someone else picked Garchomp before it. Like,
Imagine being that dude at number 13 who just was like, okay, I'll just pick whatever's available. Round one, it's okay. Just give me whatever's left, and you end up with Zygarde, dude. Like, hello?
yeah,
Not
exactly.
the dog. The 51. Like,
Yeah, like it's like I think, man, like, and the ones that like Celesteela, like I'm okay with it going number 2. Like I think it's a mon that's worthy of that. I just think it usually doesn't.
Yeah.
So like that one doesn't bother me, but like Clefable going 8
8.
is probably what. Even though I guess it's because I give the Ferrothorn and Victini a pass, just because of like either personal just mainly personal preferences. Like those are kind of just chalk up those picks to that. So like at least in my mind, because of I've seen Arf use Ferrothorn, and so I know he's good with it. So like it's not really like, honestly, it's like it's fine wherever he picks it. But then like Victini, since I'm used to the Flame Doge as our resident Victini expert, wherever he picks it, he's gonna make it, extra valuable. So I feel like probably similar with this. But Clefable, I don't see that same potential. So Fable probably is the one pick that bothers me the most at number 8.
And Cure Black in top 5 shouldn't exist. That's also something.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, I think we're gonna call it there for this round. Maybe join us for a second round, you two. How about that?
Would you be
Win like right now?
I'm gonna beat Josh. Like I can't be. We can't be tied. That's not. That's not.
Well, right now it is a tie. So whenever round 2 gets settled in,
We'll move up to Kakuna. We'll try to schedule something together with it, whether it's right after or whatever. But nonetheless, this was definitely a fun round with you guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank anyone else who watches 1 hour and 14-minute video. Well, the guessing game here. It was. I think they gave really a good recap of their thoughts going through this. I think it was very unique of them, and I thought it was really nice of them to go through this for an hour and 14 minutes, nonetheless. So, thank you guys for being here. Thank anyone who was watching this, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.